Hey everybody, welcome to sharing with improper fractions and mixed numbers. I kind of like this idea. I think it's kind of cool using drawing instead of trying to use all the complicated math that they're going to get into probably in the upper elementary grades. So let me show you how this drawing actually works. So I have a word problem up here. There are 5 worm-filled apples. 3 friends want to share them equally. How much will each friend get? Show your answer in 2 different ways. And the 2 different ways are going to be our improper fraction and our mixed number. Now you already see we're trying to share 5 things among 3 people, so we're not going to get a nice even split. And that's where the improper fractions and the mixed number is going to come into play. So let me show you how this works here. So for the worm-filled apples, instead of me drawing apples here, I'm going to make it real easy on myself. And in my class we've been using circles. So we're going to create 5 circles. And those 5 worm-filled apples are going to be shared among 3 friends. So we're going to draw 3 dudes down here. 1 guy, 2, 3. And I'm going to give all these guys a number so I can identify who's eating what. Person 1, person 2, person 3. Now since we have 3 people, we can look at this 1 apple here and say, how would we divide it? We would divide it into thirds. So let's divide that into thirds. And person 1's getting a piece, person 2, and person 3. We're going to do that with the rest of the apples now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So now if I look at this, I can count up the pieces that person 1 is going to eat. So person 1 is going to eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. And now we're going to say, well, what are these pieces? What are they? 4ths, 5ths, 6ths? And if I look, each one of these is cut into thirds. So he's going to eat 5 thirds. So that's going to be our improper fraction, is going to be 5 thirds. Now in our class we talk about how that's kind of gross. Because what's happening is person 1's going to take a bite of this apple, take a bite of this one, take a bite of this one, take a bite of this one, take a bite of this one. And then person 2 is going to take a bite of this one, this one, this one, and so on and so forth. So we talked about, wouldn't it be easier if we just gave them a whole apple? Well, let's see, can we give these people a whole apple? So let's see, person 1, if we gave him a whole apple, could the rest of them share? Now let's take a look. You could have this whole apple. Person 2 could have this whole apple. Person 3 could have this whole apple. And we can't really share these because we have 3 people and only 2 left. So we know that everybody's going to get at least 1 full apple. This is where our mixed number comes into play. So with our mixed number, we call it a mixed number because you have a whole number and a fraction all mixed together. So for our mixed number, we're going to draw our large number 1. We draw that big to make sure that it doesn't get mixed up with our fraction. Now we got to look at the fraction of stuff we have left here. So I'm going to put a fraction line next to this. And now I'm going to go back to that same thing I was talking about before with person 1, person 2, and person 3. So let's pretend we're person 1. I'm going to get this full apple, and then I got to get my fair share of these other 2. So I'm going to get 1 piece, 2 pieces, and just like before, these apples are cut into thirds. So I'm going to get 1 whole apple and 2 thirds of another apple. Now when we're done with our answer, one of the ways we can double check to make sure we've got our numbers in the right place is to look at our denominators, because these are cut into thirds. This should be a third, and this should be a third. And this is where we also start talking about 5 thirds and 1 2/3 is that big fancy word. They are equivalent. They are equal to each other. They look a little bit different, but they're worth the same amount. It's kind of like you can have a dime or you can have 10 pennies. They're worth the same amount, they just look a little bit different. So that is sharing with improper fractions and mixed numbers.